Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Esoteric Atlanta. Of course, my name is Bryce. We're here for our weekly coffee chats. You know what, Catherine? I don't think I've ever actually had coffee with me. I keep meaning to get something.
It's mid-afternoon for me, so I've always got my tea. I've got my lovely peppermint tea now, but yeah, I've always got something on the go by this stage of the day.
This is the one called the gossip hour. This is the gossip
Yeah.
hour with our friends because, as you guys know who've been with us for a while, we alternate back and forth between Catherine's channel and my channel. For those who are new to Esoteric Atlanta, please make sure you check out Catherine Edwards' channel. I'm going to put all of her links down in the description box below, so you can go check out Catherine's channel as well as her website, Instagram, all that good stuff. So if you're new, welcome. We're happy you're here. This is the gossip hour where we pick a topic and we just give our opinions and we chit chat. We love hearing our audience opinions as well. And we cover everything from funny stuff to more serious stuff. And the topic that we're going to be talking today is both, I think, funny and serious, both at the same time. And it's been something I've been wanting to cover with Catherine for a very long time. And things kept putting back. But before we get into it, Catherine, do we want to let our audience know what we're planning on doing? Because we had such a...
I think we should, because we really want their input. And if people have got a particular series that they want us to start with, they need to let us know, because you and I are watching things in different orders.
We talked about Traitors, the show Traitors, a couple weeks ago, and we asked you guys if you would want us to go into that show as a piece of, because it's very fascinating about the way the human mind works. And we got overwhelming responses that you guys wanted us to go through the show Traitors. And so I'm so excited, Catherine, because part of our homework now is sitting down and watching it.
Yeah, and every day we're messaging each other, because I started watching it after you. I didn't know about it until you and my son's girlfriend told me about it at the same time. So I started watching it, and for someone that's just so into human psychology, it is fascinating because there's so many parallels of what's going on the bigger stage to what plays out here and how people change as they go through the show. So it's light, harmless fun, when you've had a long day and you just want to relax, but equally there's some really important messages in it.
And I think that's why that show has been so popular across the world, is because there is, and I will say for me specifically, I'm not somebody that watches game shows. I don't even like board games. The only board game I like is Clue or Cluedo, as you guys say. And that's kind of what Traitors is, because there's a lot of mystery to it, although you as the audience member knows everything. So if you haven't seen the show Traitors, just before we get into our topic today, if you want to see the show to help join in our conversations going forward about the show, if you are in the United States, it is on, if you have a streaming service, Peacock has all of the Traitors from Australia, New Zealand, the UK, and the American series. And so you can take your pick over. They're all fascinating. I don't know. How do you watch it in the UK, Catherine? Is it
I don't even know how to turn my telly on because I watch it. So my husband always turns it on. So I will have to put in the comments below. But it's very easy to find. I think it's probably on Netflix or something.
Yeah.
We can watch the American ones and the UK. So I've watched series 1, 2 and 3 from the UK, and I've watched series 1 from USA, and I'm now on series 3. I've skipped 2 at the moment because we particularly want to discuss some aspects of series 3 USA. And I think series 3 USA and series 2 UK would be my top picks, actually, to start with.
I'm watching the UK season 2 right now, and I'm falling in love with all of the people. And I will say, before we get into it, the reason why we're for the people who want to join us with this, the reason why we're suggesting watching, especially both the UK and the American cast, is that they're both filmed at the same location. Australia not filmed obviously on the same location in a castle in Scotland, but the UK cast is all normal people like Catherine, myself, you watching, and but the American cast is all American reality celebrities. So it creates a different, and Catherine and I have been texting back and forth trying to figure out why that they've done this specifically with the American, but it creates a different game, doesn't it, Catherine? And
a very different game, and it's really interesting because equally, I haven't got a clue who a single person of these American celebrities are. I don't know a single one of them. But equally, some people watching will know them and will have preconceived ideas about them. So again, this is why it's going to be so interesting for all of us, because it's a bit like if you do a book club. If you've got a passion in that area, you'll view it in a different way to if you're coming in as a newbie. So it's when you're looking at human psychology, and when we're even discussing what's going on our political stages in all our countries, there's a lot of things that we can really extrapolate from it. And
Absolutely. And for those that think they can't, I think it's a great example. If you think you can't be manipulated,
yeah,
just watch Traders.
mm.
And so you guys, again, so if you're in the United States, so Peacock is a streaming service that has it. Peacock is owned by NBC, which is what, Universal. So if that helps wherever you're living, that's the kind of the company that is it's called Traders, as in a trader, as in not someone, not like you're trading something, but like a trade, like a treasonous person, right? And it is a game show. It's a game. And so I'll leave it at that. I know for some people that might seem boring, but it is anything but boring, isn't it, Catherine?
I resisted, and then I had two of you say to me at once. I was like, well, both of you have said there must be something in it. And I was hooked straight away. And so was my husband. We were both like, this is so fascinating watching how this plays out. And you know, in daily life, we won't go too far into it because we've got a different subject for today. But in daily life, we don't think we're playing a game. But when you watch this, you'll start to question certain things that are happening in your life a bit more. As you say, if anyone thinks, what you and I have done quite a lot about cults, and the reason for that is everyone thinks they would never be in a cult. But that's the whole point. Everyone thinks, you always think it would happen to someone else and not you. And when you start looking at some of these human behaviors, you'll start to recognize things in your daily life as well with people around and yourself. Very importantly, yourself.
I mean, I'll say it right away before we get into it. To next week, Catherine, I've told you I don't think I could play this game. I think I would cry. I would love to host it.
I'd love to watch it.
But I could not. I would crack. I would absolutely the stress, the mental stress. So anyway, you guys, again, that's the show Traders. We're going to be starting next week on Catherine's channel, kind of going through some of the big red flags, we'll say. Could we say red flags? Big interesting points of this show that really play out in the American public and the British public and the world public, and how we are manipulated and how we manipulate ourselves, how we lie to ourselves. It's a big theme in this show too, of people convinced they're right when you, as a viewer, know they're completely wrong. And so it's incredible. It's an incredible study on human behavior, and it's amazing that all over the world, you guys, that just shows we're not that different, are we? Like, no matter what country you come from, what culture you come from, this show is all over the world, and it's the same thing. It's the same manipulation. So I can't wait to get into it. So y'all, your homework, if you want to join us, your homework is to pop some popcorn, sit back, and watch Traders. So, but is there anything you want to say on that, Catherine, before we move on?
No, I think I can't wait. I can't wait to have this discussion. I can't wait to see the things in the chat as well.
I know it's fantastic. So, you guys, so this is a subject I'm laughing because it's so wild. And when I first told Catherine about this, you were kind of like, what are you Americans doing? And I'm like, I don't know anybody who's using this product at all, but it's all over our commercials here in the United States. And we don't have cable here. So even those of us who don't have cable are seeing this product being advertised. And even my boyfriend's parents were like taken aback by this product. And this is full body deodorant. Called the company.
You'll see why I'm doing that in a minute. For anyone listening, I was heaving.
Like Lumi. Okay, so let me pull up. So the big company doing this, and this is I want to say before we get into this is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is just our opinions as two girls, two human beings. So you have to, because this is a big company, so we just got to be careful. So this is just what, Catherine and I as two women, this is only our opinions. Okay, guys, do your own research for entertainment, educational purposes only. All that legal stuff we got to say. So I just pulled up this images. So Lumi is this product that is a full body, like whole body deodorant. 72-hour. Who isn't showering in that 72? That's one thing. Todd, my boyfriend's mom said. She was like, "Are people just not showering anymore? Like, I don't understand this." Now, I remember when these commercials first started coming out. It was allegedly created by a gynecologist. So. Right. My doctors never said anything about full body. So I want to get first of all, Lumi Lady Deodorant. Catherine, what is what's your initial reaction to this full body deodorant? And I want to clarify, I don't know anybody in the United States who uses this. Just want to clarify that. No one who
when you sent it to me and you were saying, should we talk about this? I was like, what are you talking about? This is ridiculous. What are you talking about? And then I looked it up, and I was quite pleased we were discussing this today, because there's a lot of things going on in the world that are really pretty stressful, I would say, at the moment, or disappointing, even if they don't affect me personally at the moment. Pretty horrific. So when we were talking about this, I thought, thank God. But you're right, there are some serious aspects to it. So when I first saw it and watched a couple of the commercials, I was laughing at some of the words that they were substituting for using for certain body parts, certain anatomies of genitalia and things like this. But equally, I just thought this is another really sad shaming product, and I think it's actually really dangerous. I think it's dangerous on the physical side of things, because if you put perfumed chemicals in certain places in your body, whether you're male or female, that is going to do you no good at all. If you put it anywhere on your body, I mean, we all know that one of the main causes of breast cancer is aluminium in deodorants and other toxic substances, because all your lymph glands go under here. Some of your major lymph glands go under here. So it's funny in one respect that a company has put all this money into developing this. It's also, to me, very, very sad, because we can go so deep on this, Bryce, but from a health perspective, if your body is in balance, however much you sweat, it shouldn't be a repulsive smell. And other parts of your body, so long as you're using basic hygiene things, which some people can't. I mean, I will come on to that. There are some people in abusive households. I knew someone when I was growing up that parents wouldn't let them shower, and they got horribly bullied at school. It was just awful. But the trouble is, that's not going to help someone like this, because those sort of children, for example, wouldn't have access or money to buy a product like this. So for me, I can see absolutely no redeeming features, and a lot of harm in terms of the toxins, but also the psychological and what message. It's sending a message out to people that they're not allowed to smell how they smell, that certain body parts should smell like fake chemicals. It's just so toxic in every way.
Well, and I know that too, as a woman, with our lady bits, if there is a weird, this might be TMI, but there's a weird smell, that is your body alarming you of something that is out of balance that you need to pay attention to, whether that's from diet. A lot of it is dietary. A lot of it is your imbalance. You're just imbalanced. Your pH is imbalanced. But it's so funny, Catherine, because and again, this might be TMI, but I won't even use tampons, because I feel like to put something like that in my body is concerning to me. Yeah. And so I just use Maxi, and that's not even great either, but just, you can't walk around just leaking everywhere. But for me, and I actually, for better or for worse, kind of have to thank my dad for that, because when we were teenagers, my sister and I, he didn't want us having tampon because of toxic shock. He was afraid that my sister and I, being so young, would neglect to pull it out in time, and it would get, and so I was aware of this thing called toxic shock at a very young age. And so that made me aware of it. And then when I got more to holistic healing, I realized how much is in this product, a tampon, that is actually seeping into your body when you, that's an entrance point to the body, right? And that's the epitome of I always say the beautiful thing about having a cycle for a woman is a cycle for a woman does give you a glance every month at your health, what's going on with your health, And so when you have a healthy, regular cycle, like I do, then you know that there's pretty good health there, but if the cycle gets messed up, it's many things. It's either stress, or you're pregnant, it's just or there's something else going on that needs attention. And so whenever there's a smell, to me, that's just that should be covered up by a deodorant.
Absolutely. And it's like your main detox pathway. So there's certain natural substances. So, for example, I talk a lot about magnesium spray. And if you're magnesium deficient, it affects all the detox pathways, your hormonal balance, everything. And most people might think, oh, I get muscle cramps, that's the issue. But actually it's deeper than that. The cramps are a symptom that your body's telling you something is wrong. But a lot of people, when they, for example, start to get their magnesium levels right and their hydration back in balance, they find even if they do sweat, it doesn't smell offensive at all. And equally, other people notice if you eat a curry, or if you drink alcohol, or if you eat garlic, or I use a really lovely healing natural substance that you're not really allowed to use called DMSO. And
we have that too. We have that too.
That will smell of sulfur. And when you're using it, it's because even when you put something on your skin, it absorbs in through your body. Of course, if you're putting it in sensitive areas, it will absorb in a lot quicker and cause a lot more issues. So you've got to be so careful what you're putting on your body. And I think, one, as you say, it could encourage bad hygiene. It can mask problems. But very importantly, you imagine young men and women who are very body conscious anyway and don't really understand necessarily a lot about their body yet. You imagine how traumatized you would be if you felt that you had to use these sort of things in intimate areas. It's so emotionally damaging.
Absolutely. And as so much is running through my head right now, because we know, as we talk about the younger generation, like, and maybe for us this was common sense, but it seems like common sense is being drilled out of people nowadays. So again, if we look about, we'll say the traders of our world, the bad guys, the establishment, if they've created something, which I can assume, now we eat relatively healthy here. That's Catherine. I think it's one area Catherine and I are very similar. We're very conscious of what we put in our bodies. So I know for me at 42, I know that I can, if something smells, that there's something wrong and I need to pay attention to that. And I probably need to adjust my diet and go back and look at something I'm eating. That's kind of where I go. But for these young people, now imagine you're like 20 years old and you're new out in life. You're having intimacies. You're new to this. You're developing, and there's a smell, but you haven't been taught that that means there's something wrong. And so you're masking it. So we're just getting sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker and masking it with even more chemicals. That is so concerning. It is so concerning. And again, with hygiene, like that's, and again, I know different places in the world have different cultures around hygiene. I get that. Like I know people, like where I live, it is customary for people to take like at least 1 to 2 baths or showers a day because we get really hot here. So I'll shower after I do my practice in the morning and then before I go to bed at night, because I usually take an Epsom salt bath just to relax, but also because it's hot here. So we sweat a lot. And so, and the rate in which you wash your clothes, and then we could do a whole series on laundry detergent and how certain laundry detergents are really bad for you. But then on the likewise, if you live somewhere where it's warm, you're going to be washing your clothes more frequently because of the sweat that you release. But so it goes into this hygiene too. And I will say too, you're so right, Catherine. We had a live call on, I think it was Saturday, our first live call at the Esoteric Academy. And I talked about this. And I said, the thing is, when you first start to exercise or clean yourself up, change your diet, practice, get yourself, what tends to happen is at first you go through a phase where you stink because things are detoxing. You're pulling up old toxins that are coming out. They need to come out. They need to come out to the surface and they need to be released. But then over time, that's going to change. You're not going to smell at all. As sweaty as you get, you're not going to smell at all. And I know different sweat smells from being in a sweaty micer room, like meat eaters have a different smell.
Absolutely.
So that's important, right? We've kind of lost that ability. Like animals have that ability to recognize different smells.
Well, massively so. I mean, animals have typically, a dog's got, 50 million more nerve receptors in their nasal passage than we have. So they're much more sensitive to environmental pollution. They can smell the pheromones, so they can smell, that's why a dog can detect cancer. But also with another dog, they can tell whether they're in season. They can tell whether they're healthy, they can tell whether they're stressed, they can tell whether they're excited, and they live that smell as their dominant sense for every other animal. And we've lost that as language has taken over. But actually it's part of the identity of who you are. So they've done loads of studies that show that humans, when you're wearing perfume or aftershave, you're much more likely to choose the wrong life partner. because a lot of natural smells that you give off that we're not even aware of, your subconscious brain is picking them up and taking notice of them. When you mask that with perfume or aftershave, you're effectively getting a false energy signal from that person. So this is so deep, and I think it's really toxic as well. Can you imagine the shaming that could go on if someone's been used to their partner using all these perfumes and covering up normal bodily smells, and then someone doesn't? It's just got so many different implications. But smell is giving us information all the time. One of the reasons why passive smoking is so dangerous is because every mammal has something called a blood-brain barrier, and the blood-brain barrier stops stuff that you're ingesting getting into your delicate brain tissue. But when you inhale most stuff through inhalation, the blood-brain barrier can't stop it. So all these toxic synthetic perfumes and everything, not only are they masking the smell and really shutting off your intuition about that person, about yourself and anyone else who's wearing it, but also you're introducing chemicals straight up into the brain, which will then affect your decision making, your health, etc. So it's almost, we all talk about programming from what we listen to, but actually what you're smelling is programming you very, very strongly. That's why essential oils are so healing if used right, but the wrong smells can be very damaging to physical and mental health and decision making.
You know, as you're saying that, I had a flashback of when I was really little, like really little. And my Aunt Kathy, my mom's youngest sister, I would recognize her smell. Like she always had a smell. And I have a memory of saying that. We were at a restaurant and I was by my aunt, and I remember going, "Oh, I love like you, my Aunt Kathy smells." And she was like, "I smell like," was trying to get me to explain what the smell was. And I was like, "No, it's not bad. It's just your smell. Like, it's not bad." I mean, being a little kid and being like, "No, it's just, that's my Aunt Kathy smell. Like when I smell that, I know my Aunt Kathy's around." And it wasn't, looking back, I remember the smell. Like I have a memory of what it smelled like. It wasn't a perfume. It was just her smell. And I was around my Aunt Kathy. I was around my mom's sisters a lot. My boyfriend has a smell that's not bad or good. It's just, it's neutral, but it's his smell. And he doesn't wear deodorant. He doesn't, he's very, we wouldn't even, I mean, our microwave came with our place. Otherwise we wouldn't even have a microwave. He's more than I am about that stuff. And so, I like his smell. I can smell his shirts, and it's not, again, you see me people like get their old father's shirt and it smells like their father.
Absolutely.
But it's not like a chemical. It's just them. It's their smell. My cousin, my cousin Robert, my Aunt Kathy's youngest son, who's like 9 years younger than me, when he was really little, it was hysterical. He would walk around with a silk nightie that was my Aunt Kathy's. He had this, I remember it was like a green nightie, and she would be mortified by it, but it smelled like his mom. And it got whittled down to basically just a patch because he had it and it smelled like his mom. And so he would sleep with this like silk nightie that smelled like his mother. And how important that is. And I will say with animals, it's amazing too. I watched so many videos of dogs recognizing that the female human is pregnant before the female, because they keep wear their nose into the stomach, like they know, and they're more careful around that there's a life growing in there. And it's pretty remarkable. And how it's just so obvious when you look back. I mean, we're laughing because it's hysterical, and the commercials are hysterical.
They are hysterical. I mean, we're talking about it quite seriously, but there is definitely a lighter side. I mean, when you look at the commercials, you're just like, wow. And I want to know in the comments below, does anyone know anyone who's used this? And if so, what's their experience of it?
I mean, I will tell you, for a long time, I even used, it's a company, St. Ives, that they have like feminine wash for your specifically. And I thought I was doing the right thing, but then I had someone come and say, actually, no, don't use that anymore. So I stopped using it. And actually, the minute I stopped using it, this was like in my 20s, the minute I stopped using it, I felt healthier, because obviously something was in it that was, I thought I was helping myself, but it wasn't. And, and it's crazy, because not to be TMI, but it's like, I've never heard a man I've been with complain about anything smell like that's never come up in conversation with any, I don't know if that's a brag card or not, but like, on my resume, like no man's ever complained. Like, I didn't even realize that this was even an issue, because I think like you and me, if something smells, something's wrong. And
Well,
then,
look, people have got enough to be paranoid about. And this is what I think. There's so many body image stressors now out here. Social media makes that so much worse because people's health has never been worse. A lot of people, virtually everyone I know, it's very unusual for someone not to have a body image issue. So this is just another thing for people to worry about. And in a world that has gone so mad, it makes perfect sense, because to think a company could invest money in creating something so on the best side of the scale and absolutely useless and hopeless and no need for this, and then on the other side of the scale, something potentially so toxic physically and emotionally. And I haven't looked into the ingredients, but I don't need to. Anything that's got artificial scent like that and everything, complete no. I wouldn't even waste my time looking into the ingredients. But I think of all the things that we need to create to make the world a better place for all of us, this has to be right at the bottom of that list for me.
and like, where's it's for females. So like, that's got to say something too, because we have an entrance point, a big entrance point, and that women carry babies. Like, there's just seems to be a big, I mean, it's like once you can see it, you can't unsee it. But they talk to, in the commercials, they talk to us like we're 5.
Yeah.
It's so patronizing, the commercials. And I just want to know who the OBGYN is who thought this was a good idea, because surely the OBGYN, because we were talking off camera about this once, Catherine. I'm very, out of all the Western medicines, I feel like labor and delivery, OBG, that's like one of the best Western, because a lot of women would have not, most of the women I know would have probably, there's a lot of women I know that would have not survived.
Yeah.
If it was 1750, so, I'm really glad for OBGYN for that form of medicine. But, I give them a lot of credit as far as Western world is concerned. But for this, it's like, surely as an OBGYN, you would know that this was not.
I'm sure so. Absolutely sure. But yeah, it will be fascinating to see if anyone's got any positives to say about it.
Right. Because I know nobody, like, I seriously, like, every person I know in the United States who has seen these commercials are like, WTF.
Yeah, exactly.
But then again, I'm around people who are in their 40s and 50s, and like, I don't know what the younger generation is saying. So, I just hope my nieces don't ever use this. I hope that they got a good mama and daddy, though, that, make them shower. And my sister won't even buy bread for this. She's so paranoid. She makes her own bread now. So they hopefully will be in good hands with that. But yeah, and that, making women feel like they have to, in the psychological aspects of making women feel like they have to be a certain way in order to get a partner, because I think women,
it's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Yeah, I think it's really, really sad. And, men, I don't know, again, I don't know I doubt whether this is coming from the men, but if there are any men watching this, I mean, what do you think? I didn't realize it was just marketed at women.
That's all I've seen is a female gynecologist for.
I'm sure I saw one of the adverts when I was watching last night in preparation for this. I'm sure I saw one of the ones talking about men's anatomies and private bits too, but I wouldn't make that up. It's not something I'd imagine. It's not something I think about often.
I mean, honestly, let's just be real, ladies. If you saw your partner spraying stuff on his wiener, I wouldn't want that coming near me after that. No, like, you wash that shit off. Like, I would not want, like, that would be weird. So I want to hear what the men think. If you saw your girlfriend or your wife spraying something on her hoo-ha, would that not concern you too? Because that's an area, I hate to be graphic, but for a heterosexual relationship, like, that's an area on both body parts that both partners kind of share. So, not to be too graphic, hope kids are watching, but like, it affects you too. Like, it's going to affect you as well. If my boyfriend's spraying something on his bits and pieces, it affects me.
Yeah.
And vice versa. So, it opens up a huge conversation. And I want to know too, because I don't know anybody. Everybody I know in the United States has.
I don't know anyone who's ever heard of this. I mentioned it to a few people and they thought I was joking. I mean, we've always thought you Americans are funny, but this tastes the biscuit.
I'm gonna send one. I'm gonna send one to you, Catherine. I'm gonna package one and send it.
I don't even know if we can buy it. I haven't even looked. I'm going to have to get off this call and go and see. Is it even available here? I haven't
seen it in the grocery store. I will say, maybe I'm not looking, but I have not seen it in the grocery store. It might be something you can only order online, which would be very interesting.
search for.
Exactly. Like, have you tried taking a shower? Sometimes it's just
Yeah.
as easy as taking a shower. Like sometimes that's all it is. But yeah, I'm be curious to see like what our audience thinks of this. So I want to hear from both of this of the now that the United States has ruled that there are only two genders. I laugh about that as well because, if you had across the world, collectively our ancestors 200 years ago, if you got in a time machine and went and told them that in 2025 we would actually have to make it a legal proclamation,
Yeah.
I think they would be like, what?
Now, I mean, it is, to me, it's a very good indication of how far off track we've got. The fact that we live in a society where everything sort of swings on getting people to buy useless things they know they don't need is the ultimate commercialization to me. And, we've got so far down that line. I'm sure if I look around here, I could spot lots of things that are not essential. But this has to take the biscuit. And I think, again, it's a sign of the world really has gone mad, because I can't even think those poor people that aren't in a situation to keep their hygiene up to speed, they're not going to be the ones that are going to have access to this anyway.
Exactly.
So I think, yeah.
I want to hear from everybody. I want to hear like from the men, from the women, like what for the parents, you're a parent, Catherine, would you ever let your daughter, I know your daughter's an adult now, but as a teenager, would you have ever let this in your house?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I think it is that's the market I would be worried about, the youngsters who are, if children are going through puberty or either sex and everything, you're sensitive about everything, every change in your body anyway. And even bringing this into the awareness that your odor is a problem is really potentially quite sad, to be quite honest. So I think it's a laughable, it's not in the scale of world events, it's not top of the list, but it is a good indication of how far off track we've got. The fact that there's a marketing department that have actually come up with this,
It's
and a
wild.
product development department, and all these people that, to bring a new product to market involves quite a lot. And
yeah,
you guys might
try it. They have to have
a different job, a more worthwhile job. Yeah.
And I want to, as we're signing out, I want to ask, because I'm not a parent. I know, Catherine, your children are older now, and obviously every generation of parenthood offers different challenges depending on the world their kids are born into. And maybe you have something to say on this, but I want to know from the mothers and the fathers out there, as we're talking about the younger generation and this being a potentially marketed to them, how do you speak to your children about body odor? Like, is that, because I don't remember my parents ever talking to me about that, but maybe I just grew up in a time where maybe we grew up in a time where there was more common sense around that. Like if something's stunk, it might be infected. Like we kind of knew that. So is that a conversation parents should be having with their children nowadays? Like, especially as they get into puberty, like if something doesn't smell right, let me know, because we need to figure out, I would say go to the doctor or go to the healer or whatever, like figure out what's going on, because that's an imbalance. Like, is that a conversation parents should be having with their children?
Absolutely, because I do know a lot of parents, myself included, you'd have that conversation, during puberty, for example, because when your hormones are changing, everything changes. It's even like if you've got a dog and you have it spay or neutered, it changes all its smells. So other dogs will react really weirdly to it for a few weeks after they've been done. I hope people wouldn't be having that done unless they need to. I've done a video on that. But your hormones affect every part of your metabolism. So I think most parents would be having some sort of conversation around there as children are going through puberty, but not in a way, as you say, of thinking, right, we've got to cover this off. Look, your hygiene needs will need to change now. You're growing into a man or a woman now. The things will start working differently. This is what to look out for. And as you say, it is a very good point, because I never had that conversation, but touch wood, didn't need to at the time.
It was common sense back then, wasn't it?
Something you're worried about and you feel something's off, then let's check it out.
Don't be throwing any full body
Yeah.
deodorant on it. We need to figure out what's, and even just, I'm thinking about even for girls, like before you start your, sometimes things might smell a little off, but it's not off. It's just your period's
Yeah.
about to start, or something's just rearranging itself. And so I just never thought we would come to, because my parents never talked to us about that. But again, that was common sense back then. It would
Exactly.
be covered. And now it just, because of all the ridiculousness of the establishment, it just feels like parents have more pressure to actually talk common sense with their kids. And I still can't figure out why little boys going through puberty's feet stink, because my nephew, I didn't have brothers though, so those teenage boys, man, with their feet, I don't know, I'm kidding, but
well, I think also there's so much synthetic. Yeah, it is a good point. And this is the thing, it's hormones, it's detoxing, everything's starting to work differently and kicking up a different gear. And I think also there's so much synthetic socks and footwear and everything. You know, when you had good old cotton, organic, not sprayed in glyphosate and God knows what else, you know, there's so many toxins in all of us now.
yeah.
So many toxic clothes, artificial clothes. If it's not made from polyester, which is plastic, it's sprayed with goodness knows what fungicides. One of my friends even bought a pair of natural wool socks because she's really into things like that, and her whole feet blistered and swelled up. And it was the fact that this company who made natural wool socks, to allow them to sell them in a store and online, they had to spray a fungicide on it to stop it having bugs or growing moldy. So this is the problem now. I think now we're all bombarded by so many different toxins, it will be having an impact. But it's, you know, the solution is never masking it. As a good old therapist said, you know, the solution to pollution is dilution, and it is. You know, you get that water into yourself, flood your body with nutrients and things that are going to get those toxins out, and you won't have a pooey problem.
I think that you bring a good point too, just to kind of piggyback on what you said quickly. Like sometimes when your body is releasing an odor, I keep saying it's your food. It might actually be your laundry detergent. It might be something that your body is reacting to, and it's not what you're eating. But you could check, you know, check your change your laundry detergent. It could be something as simple as that. And it just speaks of sinister. The fact that they want to cover it up and make you so out of touch with your own health. You know, we've already lost our intuition. We've already lost, as you said, our sense of smell as far as like animals go. But now they're telling you to basically, if something in your genitalia is smelling bad, instead of actually trying to figure out why, just spray some chemicals on it.
Mm.
Like this is obvious where this is going.
It's just all down the big pharma model again, isn't it? Never address the root cause, just really try and mask the symptoms until, unfortunately, the symptoms take you out because they've got.
And then blame it on something else. Then blame the guy on something. Yeah.
I'm very intrigued to see what everyone thinks below. I'm intrigued to see, does anyone know that uses this? Has anyone thought of a positive that we haven't come up with? And also, do you think the world's going completely mad now? So
we're the reality show for the aliens. Even though we love our reality shows like Traders, I kind of think that we're the Saturday Night Fun show for the aliens.
I think so. I really think so. They cannot believe it.
It's this common sense is gone. Just common sense is completely gone. And you know, it's and we can even get into like I've been looking into the history of bras, like just everything that we just don't even realize now that actually is not that great for us. And if they keep going with this, there might be 200 years from now where everyone uses crotch deodorant. Yeah, they've normalized it, right? And not realizing how much is damaging their health. So I absolutely.
Well, it's another great one for the depopulation agenda, but that might be going too far for some people. But you know, all these hormone disruptors, endocrine disruptors, we know that sperm rates and reproductive rates are absolutely plummeting, and it's just these little things do add up. This is the problem. Our bodies are amazing self-healing machines, but if you push it too far and put too many chemicals in there, too many artificial damaging chemicals in there, then unfortunately it can't cope.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So let us know, guys. I thought about putting a commercial in this episode, but I think YouTube would probably strike that for copyright. Yeah. So Rumble's better about that. So if you want to do yourself, have a good laugh, especially if you're from a different country, it's Lume, 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 full body deodorant. and see if you can pull those commercials up, because they are hysterical.
They are hysterical. I listened to a few last night and I was literally laughing out loud, but more in that nervous laughter rather.
It's like an alternate universe. Like, what is this? Like, so
the problem is now I'm going to have the ads coming up for it, because you know what happens? You watch one thing on the phone, I've probably trained the algorithms that I want it now, so I'll let you know.
So you're welcome, you guys. I guess you don't have to Google it. It'll probably pop up in your feed now, because we've been talking about it and you've been listening to it. But let us know. I want to hear everything from you guys. What's your opinion on this? Are you using it? Do you know anybody using it? Because I certainly don't. Do you need to talk to your children about this? Is this something that parents in the future are going to actually have to sit down and talk with their kids about, because common sense ain't so common anymore? Like this is concerning. Absolutely concerning. So, it's not wrong to stink, but it's wrong to try to mask the stink with something else. The stink is a sign from your body that something isn't right. It needs support and help. And so we need to learn how to honor that smell and actually deal with the root cause of the smell. So, yes. So
absolutely. And we'll be back next time. Come join us. Come join us next week for the start of our little series on traitors, because it's really eye-opening. If anyone hasn't seen it, it's eye-opening.
It's the best show. It's so good. Yeah, and it's slightly concerning too, to see how manipulatable, is that a word? Manipulatable we all are. It's quite concerning. And I will say right now, I know, but actually let's end this in a teaser, Catherine. I know I asked you this off camera, but I'm going to ask it on camera, and I would love to hear our audience who know what the show is. Catherine, would you want to be a faithful or a traitor?
Traitor.
Same.
Definitely a traitor.
Although I'd probably crack within the first week. But
I think I wouldn't. I don't know whether I'd be a very good one, and I don't know whether being a good traitor is actually a good thing either. So it opens up so many different horses for courses, as we used to say. Different rules for different things. But I'd love to try to be a traitor, but I think it would be a very interesting one to see. Because a lot of the people that think they're going to be a great traitor are absolutely hopeless traitors. That's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And I will put a PS or an announcement out to NBC, to Universal, whoever, for both the UK and the American, because they're obviously using the same production, same set. If for some reason Claudia or Alan Cummings' paycheck is way too high and you can't afford anymore, I can volunteer Catherine and me to co-host it, and we'll do it for way cheaper.
Way cheaper.
Way cheaper. I would love to host this show. I would, because they're kind of menacing too, the characters they play, but they're not in the game. So I think Catherine and I would be great hosts. So I'm telling you, to the BBC, whoever's doing this in the UK, I promise
you're missing out.
We're a lot cheaper. We're a lot cheaper than they are. So, all right, you guys. Well, we hope you have a wonderful week, and we'll see you soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.